Officer Sarah Chen noticed it first on a Tuesday morning in October. Princess Charlotte walked past her post without smiling. No wave, no giggle, no spark in her eyes. Just empty silence and a face too serious for an 8-year-old. Sarah had been guarding the royal family for 6 years. She knew Charlotte, the bright, curious girl who asked questions about everything, who practiced her words in Mandarin just to make Sarah laugh, who brought her drawings to show the guards. But that Tuesday, Charlotte looked like a different child. Sarah watched her disappear down the corridor with her nanny. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. The kind of wrong that crawls under your skin and won't leave. If you're watching this story unfold, hit that subscribe button now. What happens next will leave you speechless. By Thursday, it was worse. Charlotte barely spoke during her scheduled garden time. She sat on a bench, staring at nothing. Her favorite swing hung empty. The staff whispered concerns. The nanny looked worried, but when anyone asked Charlotte if she was okay, she nodded. "I'm fine," she'd say in a small voice. Then she'd go quiet again. Sarah couldn't ignore it anymore. Friday afternoon, she broke protocol. She approached Charlotte in the garden when no one else was watching. "Your Royal Highness," Sarah said gently, kneeling down. "You seem sad. Is everything all right?" Charlotte looked at her with eyes that seemed too old, too tired. "Do you keep secrets, Officer Chen?" Charlotte whispered. Sarah's heart tightened. "Depends on the secret, even if someone told you not to tell. Even if they said bad things would happen." A chill ran through Sarah's body. "Charlotte, has someone threatened you?" The little girl's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth to speak.
Out.
A sharp voice cut across the garden. Lady Pembroke, the head governess, strode toward them. Her face was stern. "You know you're not supposed to bother the guards with conversation?" "She wasn't bothering me," Sarah said. Standing, Lady Pembroke's cold eyes fixed on Sarah. "I believe you have rounds to complete." It was a dismissal. Clear final. Sarah had no choice but to step back, but as she walked away, she heard Charlotte whisper something. So quiet, she almost missed it. "They watch everything." Sarah froze. She wanted to turn back. To demand answers? To protect this child who clearly needed help? But Lady Pembroke was already ushering Charlotte inside, her hand gripping the girl's shoulder too tightly. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Charlotte's face. Those frightened eyes, that desperate whisper, she did something she'd never done before. She accessed the palace security footage from her station, reviewed the past week, watching Charlotte's movements, looking for anything unusual. Monday through Thursday showed the same pattern. Charlotte arrived for breakfast with her family. Normal, smiling even. But then, each day around 10 a.m., Lady Pembroke would take her to the East Wing, to a room Sarah didn't recognize. The cameras in that hallway had been turned off during those times. Every single day. For exactly 90 minutes, when Charlotte emerged, she was different, quieter, smaller somehow. Sarah checked the duty logs. The East Wing room was listed as a private tutoring space, but Charlotte already had tutors. Her schedule was public knowledge. This wasn't on it. She dug deeper, found maintenance records. The room had been soundproofed 3 months ago. New locks installed. Access restricted to only 3 people. Lady Pembroke, Lord Harrington, the Deputy Private Secretary, and someone listed only as Dr. M. Sterling. Sarah had never heard of Dr. Sterling. Wasn't on any of the palace medical staff lists. Wasn't registered with any of the usual royal physicians. She searched the name, found nothing in official channels, but when she broadened her search to private databases, something appeared. Dr. Marcus Sterling, child psychologist, but not the good kind. He'd lost his license in the United States 5 years ago. Allegations of experimental therapy techniques, ethical violations. Working with children without parental consent, he disappeared after that. Until now, Sarah's hands shook as she read the reports. The complaints from parents? The investigations that went nowhere. The patterns of children becoming withdrawn, fearful, compliant after his sessions. She looked at the time. 2:47 a.m. In 7 hours, Charlotte would be taken to that room again. Sarah had a choice to make. Follow protocol. Report her concerns through proper channels. Let the system handle it. That's what she'd been trained to do. But the system had allowed this Dr. Sterling into the palace. Had given him access to Charlotte. Had turned off cameras and soundproofed rooms. The system might be part of the problem. Sarah pulled out her phone. She had contacts. Journalists she'd met during public events. People who'd given her cards in case you ever see something that needs attention. She'd never thought she'd use them. But as she sat there in the darkness, thinking about Charlotte's frightened eyes and that whispered warning, Sarah Chen made a decision that would change everything. She started typing a message. To someone outside the palace walls. Someone who couldn't be silenced or controlled because something terrible was happening too. Princess Charlotte, and Sarah was the only one asking why. Asterisk, asterisk, Sarah sent the message to Rebecca Torres, an investigative journalist she'd met 2 years ago during a charity event. Rebecca had covered royal stories before, but more importantly, she'd exposed corruption in powerful institutions. She wasn't afraid. The response came within minutes. Meet me, 6 a.m. Hyde Park, northeast corner. Come alone. Sarah deleted the messages and erased her search history. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for sunrise. At 5:45 a.m., she left the palace in civilian clothes. Morning joggers filled the park. She found Rebecca sitting on a bench, feeding pigeons like any other early riser. Tell me everything, Rebecca said. Without looking at her, Sarah did. The change in Charlotte. The mysterious room. Dr. Sterling's background. The turned-off cameras. Rebecca's expression darkened. Do you know what they're doing in those sessions? No, but Charlotte's terrified. And whatever it is, her parents don't know about it. How can you be sure? Because Prince William was asking about Charlotte's mood yesterday. I overheard him talking to Catherine. They're worried too. But when they asked Lady Pembroke, she said Charlotte was fine, just tired from her studies. Rebecca pulled out a small notebook. I need you to get me proof. Photos of that room. Audio, if possible. Something concrete. I can't. I'll lose my job. Maybe face criminal charges. And if you do nothing, what happens to Charlotte? The question hung in the cold morning air. Sarah knew the answer. She'd seen it in Charlotte's eyes. I'll try, Sarah whispered. But I need something from you. Research Lord Harrington. Find out why he's involved. He's been with the palace for 20 years. Trusted advisor. Why would he bring in a disgraced therapist? Rebecca nodded. I'll dig. Be careful, Sarah. People who ask questions about the royals have a habit of disappearing from their jobs. Or worse. Sarah returned to the palace before her shift started. Everything looked normal. Staff preparing breakfast. Guards changing posts. The morning routine like clockwork. But at 9:55 a.m., Sarah positioned herself near the east wing. Casual, just walking her rounds. She watched Lady Pembroke arrive with Charlotte. The little girl's steps were slow, reluctant. She kept looking back over her shoulder, like she was hoping someone would stop this. No one did. Lady Pembroke unlocked the door. Sarah caught a glimpse inside. White walls. A chair. Some kind of equipment she didn't recognize. Then the door closed. Sarah checked the camera. Offline, as expected. She had 90 minutes. She couldn't enter the room. Too risky. But there was a maintenance closet next door. Shared wall. If she could get inside, maybe she could hear something. She tried the closet door. Locked. But Sarah had been a guard for 6 years. She'd learned things. Tricks. She pulled out a small tool from her pocket and worked the lock. It clicked. Open inside, cleaning supplies and electrical panels. Sarah pressed her ear to the wall. At first, nothing. Then, voices. Muffled but audible. A man's voice. American accent. Dr. Sterling. Charlotte, we've talked about this. Your family doesn't understand. They're too busy, too distracted. But I understand. Charlotte's small voice. I want to see my mummy. Asterisk, your mother has important duties. She can't always be there for you. That's why I'm here. To help you be strong? To help you not need anyone, but I miss her. Missing people makes you weak, Charlotte. We're fixing that. Making you better, stronger. Don't you want to be strong? Silence. Then a sound that made Sarah's blood run cold. Charlotte crying. The tears need to stop, Dr. Sterling said, his voice harder now. We've been working on this for weeks. Emotions are obstacles. Sadness is an obstacle. You need to learn control. It hurts, Charlotte whimpered. Growth always hurts. Now, let's try the exercise again. Look at the photos. Asterisk, Sarah pressed harder against the wall. What photos? This is your mother, Dr. Sterling continued. She's disappointed in you. She thinks you're too emotional, too weak. She wishes you were different. No. Charlotte's voice cracked. Mummy loves me, does she? Then why does she let me keep coming here? Why doesn't she stop these sessions? Because she knows you need to change, Charlotte. You need to be perfect. And right now, you're not. Sarah felt sick. This wasn't therapy. This was psychological abuse. Systematic, calculated, designed to break a child's spirit. Say it, Dr. Sterling demanded. Say, I need to be better. Silence. Charlotte. Say it. I need to be better. The little girl's voice was barely a whisper. Again, louder. I need to be better again. Again, I need to be better. Sarah pulled away from the wall. Her hands were shaking. She wanted to burst through that door. Grab Charlotte, run, but she'd be stopped, arrested, and Dr. Sterling would continue. She needed evidence. Real evidence. Audio recording. She pulled out her phone and pressed it against the wall. Hit record. For the next hour, she captured everything. The psychological manipulation. The cruel exercises designed to make Charlotte suppress all emotion. The lies about her parents not loving her. The systematic destruction of a child's self-worth. When the session ended, Sarah hurried out of the closet. She was back at her post when Charlotte emerged. The little girl's face was blank. No tears, no expression at all. She walked past Sarah like a robot. Lady Pembroke smiled. Much better today. "Dah!" Sarah wanted to scream. Instead, she stood at attention until they disappeared. That evening, she met Rebecca again. Handed over the audio recording. Rebecca listened to just 2 minutes before her face went pale. This is criminal. Child abuse. We can expose this. Shut it down. If we go public, they'll deny everything. Fire me as a disgruntled employee. Discredit you as a conspiracy theorist. We need more. What more do you need? We need to know who authorized this. Who's paying Dr. Sterling? Why they're doing this to Charlotte specifically? And most importantly, we need to get her parents to hear this. If William and Catherine don't know, they need to. Rebecca nodded slowly. I found something about Lord Harrington. He's connected to a private foundation. The Sterling Foundation for Child Excellence. Guess who runs it? Dr. Sterling. And guess who's on the board of directors? 3 members of Parliament. 2 media executives. And someone listed as anonymous royal benefactor. Sarah felt the pieces clicking together. They're experimenting on her, or training her, molding her into something specific, something compliant, emotionless, perfect. We have to stop this. We will. But we need one more thing. We need to know what they're planning to do next. Sarah checked her watch. Tomorrow was Saturday. No sessions scheduled. But Monday would come. And Charlotte would be taken back to that room. Unless Sarah found a way to end this first. I'm going to talk to Prince William directly, Sarah said. That's against every protocol. You'll be fired immediately. I know. But what else can I do? Rebecca looked at her with respect. You're risking everything for a child you barely know. I'm risking everything because it's right. and because no one else will. Sunday morning, Sarah wrote a letter, detailed, professional, including timestamps, observations, and a USB drive with the audio recording. She placed it on Prince William's private desk in his study, a place only he accessed. Then she waited. By Sunday evening, the palace exploded into quiet chaos. William had listened to the recording. He'd gone straight to Catherine, and now both of them were demanding answers that no one wanted to give. Asterisk, asterisk. Sarah was summoned to the private family quarters at 8 p.m. Sunday night. 2 senior guards escorted her. Their faces were unreadable. She expected to be fired. Arrested, maybe? Instead, she found Prince William and Catherine in a sitting room, alone. No staff, no advisors. Just them, and they looked furious. Officer Chen, William said, his voice controlled but shaking with rage. Tell me this recording is fake. Sarah met his eyes. I wish I could, sir, but it's real. I recorded it myself Friday morning. Catherine's hand covered her mouth. She'd been crying. How long has this been happening? Based on maintenance records, the room was prepared 3 months ago. But I don't know when the sessions actually started. Charlotte only began showing changes 2 weeks ago. William stood abruptly, paced, his fists clenched at his sides. Lady Pembroke told us Charlotte was getting special etiquette training, advanced studies to prepare her for future responsibilities. We never questioned it. We trusted her. Where is Lady Pembroke now? Sarah asked. Gone, Catherine said bitterly. We sent staff to her quarters an hour ago. She's disappeared. Took everything. Like she knew we'd found out, and Dr. Sterling. Also gone. The room has been emptied. Equipment removed. It's just an empty space now. No evidence this ever happened? Sarah's heart sank. Lord Harrington? William's jaw tightened. Claiming complete ignorance, says Lady Pembroke handled Charlotte's schedule independently, that he signed off on it without reviewing the details. He's offering his resignation. Don't accept it yet, Sarah said. He's lying. He's connected to Dr. Sterling through a foundation. Rebecca Torres can prove it, the journalist. Catherine looked up sharply. You involved the press? I had to. I had no one else to turn to. William and Catherine exchanged glances. Finally, William nodded. You did the right thing. If you hadn't acted, we might never have known. Where's Charlotte now? Sarah asked. Asleep. Finally, Catherine's voice broke. We talked to her. Tried to explain that those sessions were wrong. That we didn't know. That we love her. But she barely responded. She's so shut down, Sarah. So distant. Like she doesn't believe anything we say. Dr. Sterling convinced her you were disappointed in her. That her emotions made her a failure. He systematically taught her not to trust her own feelings. Or you. Catherine stood suddenly. I want that man found. I want him prosecuted. I want everyone involved exposed. That's where it gets complicated, Sarah said carefully. Dr. Sterling is gone. Lady Pembroke is gone. The evidence is minimal. My recording proves abuse happened, but without identifying who authorized it. Who paid for it, who knew about it, they'll make this disappear. How? William demanded. They'll claim Lady Pembroke went rogue, acting without authority. They'll paint her as a deranged employee who manipulated everyone. Dr. Sterling becomes her hired accomplice. Both vanish. No one else is responsible. The palace issues an apology, tightens security, and moves on. That's unacceptable. I agree, but that's how power works. Unless we have proof of the bigger conspiracy. William moved to a desk, pulled out a folder. We have something. After we listened to your recording, we searched Charlotte's room. Found this hidden in her dollhouse. He handed Sarah a journal, small, pink, a child's handwriting inside. Sarah opened it. Her heart broke with every page. Charlotte had been documenting everything. The sessions. The things Dr. Sterling said. How she felt. She'd written it all down in her innocent, simple way. Day 12. Dr. Sterling says Mummy is too busy to love me properly. I cried. He made me stand in the corner for an hour. Day 18. I tried to tell Daddy about the sessions, but Lady P said if I tell anyone, something bad will happen to George and Louis. I stayed quiet. Day 23. I don't feel happy anymore. Dr. Sterling says that's good. Happy is for babies. Page after page of psychological torture, documented by an 8-year-old who didn't understand what was being done to her. This is evidence, Sarah said. This proves the threats. The manipulation. Asterisk, it also proves we failed her, Catherine whispered. Our daughter was being abused under our own roof, and we didn't see it. We couldn't have known. They were careful, systematic. Should have known, William said firmly. We should have paid more attention. Questioned more. Trusted our instincts when Charlotte started changing. Silence fell over the room, heavy with guilt and anger. Finally, Sarah spoke. What happens now? William's eyes hardened. Now we find everyone involved. Not just Pembroke and Sterling. Everyone. The Foundation members. The benefactors. Anyone who knew and allowed this to continue. That could reach very high, Sarah warned. These people have resources, connections. They'll fight back. Let them. Catherine's voice was steel. They hurt my daughter. I don't care who they are or how powerful they think they are. A knock at the door interrupted them. A senior advisor entered, looking uncomfortable. Sir, ma'am. Lord Harrington is requesting an immediate meeting. He says it's urgent. William exchanged glances with Catherine. Send him in. Lord Harrington entered. Distinguished. Silver-haired. He'd served the royal family for 2 decades, but tonight he looked nervous.
Oh, your Royal Highnesses, he began.
I understand there's been a misunderstanding about Princess Charlotte's tutoring arrangement. Misunderstanding? William's voice could have frozen fire. A child psychologist with a revoked license has been psychologically torturing my daughter for months. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a crime. Harrington's composure cracked slightly. Sir, I assure you, I had no idea about Dr. Sterling's methods. Lady Pembroke handled the details. I merely approved the budget allocation. You approved funding for soundproofed rooms and disabled security cameras? Catherine challenged. Those were described as privacy measures. For concentration during advanced studies? Stop lying, Sarah said. Everyone looked at her. A guard didn't speak to senior royals like this. But she was past caring about protocol. You're on the board of Dr. Sterling's foundation? You've been connected to him for years? This wasn't an accident. Harrington's face went pale. Officer Chen, you're overstepping. She's asking questions I should have asked months ago, William interrupted. Why Harrington? Why target Charlotte? The older man was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost sad, because the institution needs certainty, stability. Charlotte is third in line to the throne. She'll be Princess Royal someday. She'll have enormous influence. And emotional, unpredictable royals cause problems. She's 8 years old, Catherine breathed in disbelief, which is the ideal age for conditioning. Before personality fully forms, before independence develops. Harrington looked at them with something like pity. You both have been difficult. William, your mother's emotionality nearly destroyed the monarchy. Catherine, your modernization efforts create constant friction. The institution has tolerated it because removing you would cause greater problems. But you thought you could control our daughter, William finished, his voice dangerous. Not control. Guide, shape, create a royal who understands duty over emotion, responsibility over personal desire. Someone who would never rebel, never question, never cause scandals. You tried to break her spirit, Catherine said. I tried to prepare her for a role that destroys people who aren't strong enough. Look at your mother, William. Look at your grandmother, Diana. Emotion killed them both. Different ways, same result. Charlotte could have been different, better, perfect. William moved toward him. Sarah thought he might actually strike the man. Instead, he spoke with cold fury. Get out. You're finished. Not just fired, prosecuted, I'll personally ensure you face every possible charge." Harrington smiled sadly. "You can try, but you'll find that I'm protected by people far more powerful than you realize. People who believe in the institution over any individual family member. This won't end the way you think." He left, the threat hanging in the air. Sarah felt cold. He's right, isn't he? This goes higher than we thought. William looked at Catherine. Some silent communication passed between them. "Then we go higher too," Catherine said. "We take this to the public. Full transparency. Everything. There'll be a scandal," Sarah warned. "The press will destroy you." "Better than letting them destroy our daughter," William replied. And in that moment, Sarah knew. This wasn't just about stopping Dr. Sterling or punishing Lady Pembroke. This was war. Between parents protecting their child and an institution that saw that child as a piece in a much larger game. And Sarah Chen, a guard who'd broken every rule to ask dangerous questions, was right in the middle of it, asterisk by Monday morning. The situation escalated beyond anyone's control. Rebecca Torres published her article. Front page. Every major news outlet picked it up within hours. Palace Insider exposes child abuse. Princess Charlotte subjected to psychological conditioning program. The world exploded. Sarah's recording was released with Charlotte's identity protected, but everyone knew who the child was. The journal entries, sanitized but still damning, were quoted extensively. Public outrage was immediate and massive, but so was the backlash. Within 6 hours, a counter-narrative emerged. Palace sources, anonymous but clearly coordinated, claimed Rebecca's story was fabricated, that Sarah was a disgruntled employee with mental health issues, that the therapy sessions were standard educational support that had been wildly mischaracterized. Character, assassination, professional, ruthless. Sarah was suspended pending investigation. Her apartment was searched. Her financial records examined. Suddenly, discrepancies appeared. Payments she'd never received. Communications she'd never sent. Evidence manufactured so skillfully, she almost doubted her own memory. Rebecca faced worse. Her sources dried up overnight. Her editor received calls from powerful people. Legal threats piled up. 3 major advertisers pulled funding from her newspaper. The message was clear: back off or be destroyed. But neither Sarah nor Rebecca backed off. Tuesday evening, Sarah received an unmarked message. "Meet me, Victoria Station. Platform 7:09 p.m. Come alone." She almost deleted it. This was how people disappeared. But curiosity and desperation drove her to go. Platform 19 was nearly empty. One figure stood in the shadows. As Sarah approached, they stepped into the light. A woman, mid-60s, elegant, familiar somehow. "God. You don't know me," the woman said. "But I know what you're trying to do, and I want to help. Who are you?" "Someone who survived the same institution you're fighting. Someone who watched what they did to Diana and to others before her." "My name isn't important. What I know is..." The woman handed Sarah a small box. Inside are documents. Financial records going back 30 years. The Sterling Foundation isn't new. It's been operating under different names for decades. They've been experimenting with royal children for generations, trying to create the perfect heir. Compliant, emotionless, controllable. Sarah's hand shook as she opened the box. Dozens of files, reports, photos of children she didn't recognize. Until she looked closer, young versions of current royals. Going through similar programs, different doctors, same methods. Did they all go through this? Sarah whispered. Not all. Only the ones deemed too independent, too emotional, too difficult. The institution identifies them early and intervenes. The woman's eyes held old pain. Diana refused to let them do it to William and Harry. That's part of why she was considered dangerous. She broke the cycle. But they started it again. With Charlotte, because William and Catherine are raising their children differently. With emotion, with freedom. The institution sees that as a threat. Charlotte was their chance to correct course. Why tell me this? Why help? The woman smiled sadly. Because I tried to fight them alone 40 years ago. I lost everything. My position. My reputation. My life. But you're not alone. You have William and Catherine. You have public attention. You have a chance I never had. You're destroying my credibility. Making me look unstable. I know. They did the same to me. But here's what I learned. The institution's power relies on secrecy. On people being too afraid to speak. The moment enough people speak together, the institution can't silence everyone. She handed Sarah another envelope. Inside is a list of names. People like us. Former staff who witnessed things, who tried to speak up and were silenced. Contact them. Build your case. Create a chorus too loud to ignore. Sarah took the envelope. What happened to you? After you fought them? I was erased. Officially, I never worked there. My records disappeared. My colleagues pretended they'd never met me. But I survived, and I've been waiting for the right moment to tell my truth. She looked at Sarah with fierce determination. That moment is now. The woman left before Sarah could ask more questions. Disappeared into the London crowd like a ghost. But the box she'd left was very real. Sarah spent all night reading. The documents painted a horrifying picture. Decades of psychological manipulation. Children trained to suppress emotions. Heirs molded into perfect public figures who never questioned, never rebelled, never showed weakness. Some succeeded, became exactly what the institution wanted. Cold, distant, dutiful. Others broke under the pressure. The documents hinted at mental health crises hidden away from public view. Young royals who'd retired from public life or developed mysterious illnesses, now victims of the same system trying to destroy Charlotte. Wednesday morning, Sarah contacted the names on the list. 12 people. Scattered across the UK, all former palace staff. All with stories eerily similar to hers. One by one, they agreed to come forward. By Wednesday evening, Rebecca had conducted 6 recorded interviews. The others were scheduled for Thursday. A pattern emerged. The Sterling Foundation, or its predecessors under different names, had operated for over 30 years. Funded by anonymous donors with close royal connections, overseen by senior advisors who rotated but always served the same purpose, protecting the institution by controlling its heirs. Thursday afternoon, William and Catherine called a press conference. Unprecedented, against all advice from Palace Communications. They sat together, hands clasped, and told the world what had happened to their daughter. William spoke first. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed rage barely contained. Our daughter, Princess Charlotte, was subjected to psychological abuse by individuals we trusted. We were deceived. She was harmed. And we will not be silent about it, Catherine continued. For too long, this institution has prioritized image over humanity, compliance over compassion. We're here to say that ends now. Our children will not be experiments. They will not be molded into something that serves others' agendas. They will be children, protected, loved, free to be themselves. The questions came fast, accusatory, skeptical. Are you suggesting senior palace officials knew about this? We're suggesting the system that allowed this to happen needs complete reform, William replied. Some sources say Officer Chen fabricated this story. Officer Chen is a hero who risked her career to protect our child. Anyone suggesting otherwise is complicit in trying to cover up the truth. What about Lord Harrington's resignation? Rejected. We want a full investigation. Criminal charges, if warranted. The press conference lasted 40 minutes. Every second was broadcast globally. The palace's official response came within hours. A statement expressing deep concern and promising a thorough internal review. But that night, Sarah received a call from an unknown number. Officer Chen. The voice was male, cold, professional. You've made a serious mistake. The people you're fighting have resources you can't imagine. This ends badly for you unless you stop now. Who is this? Someone giving you a final chance? Retract your statements. Admit you misunderstood what you witnessed. The palace will quietly reinstate you. You'll receive a generous severance and recommendation. Your life continues. And if I refuse, then you'll learn what happens to people who threaten the institution. We've destroyed better people than you, smarter people, more powerful people. You're just a guard. You'll disappear without a trace. The line went dead. Sarah sat in her apartment, hands shaking. The threat was real. She'd seen what they could do. The manufactured evidence against her was already damning. One more push, and she'd be arrested, discredited, forgotten. But then she thought about Charlotte. That little girl who'd stopped smiling, who'd been told her emotions were weakness, who'd been systematically taught to doubt herself, her parents, everything good in her world. Sarah picked up her phone and called Rebecca. "They just threatened me," she said. "Me too," Rebecca replied. 2 different calls. Very convincing. "Are you backing down?" "Hell no. You. Not a chance." "Good, because I just got confirmation. 3 members of Parliament are connected to the Foundation's funding. One of them is on the Privy Council. This goes right to the top, Sarah. Then we go to the top 2. Friday morning, all 12 former staff members appeared on national television, together, telling their stories, corroborating each other's accounts. The evidence became impossible to deny. By Friday afternoon, public pressure forced the government to announce an independent inquiry. Not palace-run. Not internal. A real investigation with subpoena power and legal authority. And that's when everything changed. Because the institution, faced with actual accountability for the first time in decades, made a desperate move. They went after Charlotte herself. Asterix Friday night, a news story broke. Not from reputable sources, from tabloids, gossip sites, anonymous social media accounts that appeared overnight with thousands of followers. A princess. Charlotte's behavioral problems prompt intervention. Sources say young royal required special therapy due to violent outbursts. Palace. Insiders claim Charlotte has been difficult child for years. Lies. All lies. But coordinated. Professional. Designed. To shift the narrative from victim to problem child who needed the very therapy that had abused her. They were making Charlotte the villain in her own. William and Catherine immediately released a statement denying everything. But the damage was spreading faster than truth could catch up. By Saturday morning, Charlotte's face was on every tabloid cover. Speculation about her mental health, her behavior, her future. An 8-year-old child being publicly dissected and demonized. Sarah watched it unfold with horror. They're attacking a child. How is this legal? Rebecca's face was grim. It's not about legality. It's about creating enough doubt that people question everything. If Charlotte seems troubled, then maybe the therapy was justified. Maybe we're the ones who misunderstood. Hey, we have her journal. We have my recording. We have 12 witnesses. And they have unlimited resources and decades of experience in narrative control. This is how they win. Not by disproving the evidence, but by making people stop caring about it. William and Catherine went into full protection mode. Charlotte was withdrawn from all public appearances. No photos, no information. Total privacy. But that only fed more speculation. The tabloids ran stories about concerning isolation and worried experts. Sarah felt helpless. She'd started this to protect Charlotte. Now Charlotte was suffering even more. Sunday evening, she was contacted by someone unexpected. A palace insider. Someone still working there. They met in a parking garage like characters in a spy film. "You don't know me," the man said. He was young. Maybe 30. Nervous. "But I work in palace communications. And I'm disgusted by what's happening. Why reach out?" "Because I've been in the meetings. The strategy sessions. They're planning something big. A final move to bury this entire story." "What kind of move?" "They're going to force William and Catherine to choose. Either drop the investigation and accept a private settlement, or they'll leak information designed to destroy the Cambridge family's reputation permanently. Things that aren't true, but will be impossible to disprove quickly. By the time the truth comes out, the damage will be done. Sarah's stomach dropped. What kind of information? Affairs. Financial impropriety. Anything they can manufacture. They have people who specialize in this. Creating false trails. Planting evidence. Making lies look like truth. It's illegal. Conspiracy. Defamation. And impossible to prove if done correctly. These people have been doing this for decades. They're very good at it. When? Monday. They're giving William until Monday morning to decide. Abandon the investigation or face complete destruction. Sarah's mind raced. We need to get ahead of this. Expose their plan before they can execute it. How? I can't go public. I have a family. I'll lose everything. Give me something I can use. Proof of the plan. Names. Anything. The man hesitated, then pulled out a USB drive. This has email chains. Strategy documents. Nothing directly incriminating, but enough to show the pattern. How they operate. Who's involved? Sarah took it. This could save everything. Or get you killed. These people don't play games. He left. Sarah immediately called Rebecca and drove to her apartment. They spent all night analyzing the documents. What they found was worse than they'd imagined the institution had. Files on everyone. William, Catherine, every staff member. Every friend. Every person in their orbit. Detailed dossiers of vulnerabilities, secrets, things that could be used as leverage or weapons. Sarah found her own file. Pages of information about her family, her relationships, her financial situation. Potential pressure points carefully documented. They've been preparing for this moment, Rebecca said, reading over her shoulder. For years, waiting for someone to challenge them so they could deploy these weapons. Have to release this, Sarah said. Show people what we're fighting. If we release this, we expose everyone's private information, including innocent people. William and Catherine's friends. Staff members who've done nothing wrong, so we're trapped. Either let them win or hurt innocent people by exposing their tactics. Rebecca leaned back, exhausted, frustrated. There has to be another way. Sarah stared at the documents. Then something caught her eye. A name she recognized. In multiple files, coordinating between different groups. Always in the background. Look at this, she said, pulling up several documents side by side. This name appears everywhere. David Thornton. Who is he? Rebecca searched her own research. Thornton. Not palace staff. Not government. But listed as a consultant. Appears to work with the foundation, the palace communications office, and several media groups. He's the coordinator. The one connecting all the pieces. They dug deeper. David Thornton had no social media presence. No public profile. But financial records showed payments from dozens of organizations, all tied back to royal connections. He was a fixer, a professional problem solver, someone who made scandals disappear and enemies fall silent. And according to the documents, he was meeting with senior palace officials Monday morning at 6 a.m., before the ultimatum to William and Catherine. We need to be there, Sarah said. How? It's a private meeting. Top security. Sarah smiled grimly. I still have my security clearance. It's suspended, not revoked. I know the palace. I can get in. That's insane. If they catch you, then I'll be arrested. But if we do nothing, Charlotte loses. William and Catherine lose. Everyone who spoke up loses. This is our only chance. Rebecca looked at her. Really looked at her. You're willing to risk everything. Might as well see it through. Monday morning, 5:45 a.m. Sarah entered the palace through a service entrance. She knew the security patterns, knew the blind spots. Her suspended credentials still opened certain doors. She made it to the meeting room corridor without being detected. Hid in a maintenance closet with a clear view of the entrance, at 5:58 a.m., they arrived. Lord Harrington, 2 senior advisors, a woman Sarah didn't recognize, and David Thornton, average height, Unremarkable appearance. The kind of person you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting. Perfect for someone who operated in shadows. They entered the meeting room. Sarah waited 2 minutes. Then she moved. The door was locked. But there was a ventilation grate in the ceiling. Old building. Original construction. Sarah climbed onto a desk and removed the grate carefully. She pulled herself into the ventilation shaft, crawled through dust and darkness. Found the grate above the meeting room below. She could see them seated around a table. She activated her phone's recording app, positioned it carefully. Thornton spoke first. "Gentlemen, lady, we have a problem. Prince William is refusing our offer. He wants to proceed with the full investigation. Then we proceed with the alternative," Harrington said. "Which will destroy the Cambridge family's reputation," the woman added. She sounded concerned. "Are we sure about this?" "The institution is larger than any individual family," Thornton replied coldly. "We've survived worse scandals. We'll survive this. But we cannot allow a precedent where royals successfully challenge the system. It would create chaos." "What's the timeline?" one of the advisors asked. "Stories start dropping today. By week's end, William and Catherine will be so damaged they'll have no credibility. The investigation will lose momentum. Public opinion will shift. 3 months from now, this entire incident will be a footnote. And Princess Charlotte?" Thornton's expression didn't change. "Collateral damage. Unfortunate but necessary." Sarah's hands shook with rage. They were talking about a child. A little girl they'd already traumatized. And they were willing to destroy her further to protect themselves. "What about Officer Chen and the journalist?" Harrington asked. "Already handled. Chen will be arrested this afternoon on fabricated charges. The journalist will face lawsuits that will bankrupt her. Both will be so consumed with their own legal problems, they won't be able to continue their campaign. And the other witnesses, being handled individually, threats, bribes, legal pressure, they'll recant or disappear from public view." Sarah recorded every word, every cold calculation, every casual discussion of destroying people's lives. The meeting lasted 30 minutes. When they filed out, Sarah waited. Then she crawled back through the ventilation shaft. She made it out of the palace. Barely. Security was tighter now. They were looking for her. But she'd gotten what she needed. By 8 a.m., she was at Rebecca's apartment. They uploaded the recording to multiple secure locations. Then they made copies, sent them to trusted journalists, legal advocates, international news organizations. By 9 a.m., the recording was public. The reaction was immediate and explosive, not just in the UK. Globally, the casual cruelty, the calculated destruction of an 8-year-old's reputation, the admission of fabricating evidence. It was undeniable, unspinable, unforgivable. Within hours, demands for resignations flooded in. Protests formed outside the palace. Parliament called emergency sessions. But Sarah knew the biggest impact would be something else. Charlotte, William, Catherine, the family that had been isolated and attacked, now had the entire world on their side. The institution had finally gone too far, and everyone could see it. The fallout was swift and merciless. David Thornton was arrested by Monday afternoon, charged with conspiracy, witness intimidation, and a dozen other crimes. Lord Harrington resigned and faced criminal investigation. The 2 senior advisors were fired immediately. The Sterling Foundation was shut down, its financial records seized. The investigation expanded to include every person who'd ever been connected to it. But more importantly, the conversation changed. Suddenly, people weren't asking if Charlotte had been abused. They were asking how this could happen in the first place. What kind of system allowed it? Who else had suffered? What other secrets were hiding in palace walls? The institution's power had always relied on people not asking those questions. Now everyone was asking them. Tuesday morning, Sarah was formally reinstated. More than that, she was commended for her actions, offered a promotion, given recognition she'd never sought, but she turned it down. "I'm done with security work," she told the palace HR director. "I want to do something else, something that actually protects children instead of institutions." Left the palace that afternoon. walked out through the same gate she'd entered 6 years ago as an idealistic young guard. Rebecca met her outside. "What now?" "I'm thinking about going back to school. Child psychology. Maybe I can undo some of the damage people like Sterling cause. That's a long road." "Good. I've got time." They walked together through London. Two women who'd fought a system most people thought was unbeatable. "Did we win?" Rebecca asked. Sarah thought about that. "I don't know. The institution is still there. New people will fill the old roles. They'll be more careful next time, more subtle, so nothing changes." "I didn't say that." Sarah smiled slightly. "We prove they can be challenged. That secrets can be exposed. That people asking dangerous questions can survive."
That's something.
That evening, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. A car arrived at her apartment, official but unmarked. Prince William stepped out. Sarah's eyes widened. "Sir, you shouldn't be here. The press can wait," William said firmly. "I came to thank you personally, away from cameras and official statements. What you did for Charlotte, for my family, there aren't words adequate enough. I just did what was right. Most people don't. That's what makes you extraordinary." He handed her an envelope. "Catherine and I wanted you to have this." Inside was a handwritten letter. "From Charlotte, dear Officer Chen, Mummy and Daddy told me what you did. How you kept me safe when nobody else knew I needed help. They said you asked questions when everyone else stayed quiet. They said you're a hero. I'm feeling better now. The bad dreams are going away. Dr. Adams, my new doctor, the nice one, says it takes time, but I'll be okay. I'm smiling again. Did you know that? Mummy cried happy tears when I laughed at George being silly yesterday. Thank you for helping me smile again, love." Sarah felt her throat tighten. She folded the letter carefully. "How is she really?" she asked. William's expression was complicated. "Healing. It's not fast. It's not easy. She still has nightmares. Still questions whether people really love her. Sterling did real damage. But she's surrounded by people who care, who are patient, who remind her every day that emotions aren't weakness." "And the investigation? Ongoing?" "We've discovered 6 other children who went through similar programs over the past 30 years. All from families connected to the aristocracy or government. All with similar stories. It's bigger than we imagined. Are they getting help?"
Yes.
"And we're making sure it never happens again. Complete reform of how children in royal households are monitored. Independent oversight, mandatory reporting, background checks that actually mean something." He paused. "You changed everything, Sarah. You know that, right? One guard who cared enough to ask questions changed an entire system. I just hope it sticks. It will. Because we won't let people forget. Neither will Charlotte." He's already said when. "She's older. She wants to work with children who've been through trauma. She wants to help them the way you helped her." Sarah smiled. That sounded exactly like something Charlotte would say. William left shortly after. Sarah sat alone in her apartment, holding Charlotte's letter. She thought about that Tuesday morning in October. The day she noticed Charlotte wasn't smiling. The moment she decided to care instead of look away. That single decision had cascaded into everything that followed. The investigation, the exposure, the revelation of decades of institutional abuse. All because one person asked a dangerous question. Why? 3 weeks later, Sarah testified before the independent inquiry. So did Rebecca. So did the 12 other staff members who'd come forward. The inquiry's findings were damning. Institutional failure. Criminal negligence. Recommendations for prosecution. Calls for reform. The palace issued a formal apology. The king himself addressed the nation, promising accountability and change. Whether those promises would be kept remained to be seen. But Sarah noticed something important. People were watching now, paying attention, asking their own questions. The institution's greatest weapon had always been silence. That weapon was broken. 6 months after everything began, Sarah was invited back to the palace. Not as a guard, as a guest. Catherine greeted her personally. "Charlotte wanted to see you. She's been asking for weeks." They walked to the private gardens. Charlotte was there, playing with her brothers. She looked different, lighter. When she saw Sarah, Her face broke into a genuine smile. "Officer Chen?" She ran over, then stopped shyly.
Can I hug you?
"Of course." Charlotte hugged her tightly. "Why do you a picture? Want to see?" She pulled out a drawing, white crayon and marker on white paper. It showed a woman in a red guard uniform standing next to a little girl. They were both smiling. Above them, a sun with the words, "Thank you for helping me be happy again." Sarah felt tears in her eyes. "It's beautiful, Charlotte. You can keep it." Mummy helped me write the words. They sat together in the garden. Charlotte talked about school, her hobbies, her dreams. She was just a regular 8-year-old girl. Bright, curious, emotional, perfectly imperfect. Everything Dr. Sterling had tried to destroy. "Officer Chen," Charlotte said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you help me?" "You could have got in trouble." "Daddy said you did get in trouble." Sarah thought about how to answer. "Because when someone needs help, and you can help them, you should. Even if it's hard. Even if it's scary. That's what makes us human." Charlotte nodded seriously. "I want to be like that when I grow up. Someone who helps people even when it's hard." "You will be," Sarah said with certainty. "You already are." As Sarah left the palace that day, she thought about journeys. How they begin with single steps. Single decisions. Single moments of choosing to care. She thought about Charlotte. A little girl who'd stopped smiling because people she trusted had tried to break her spirit. Who'd survived because one guard noticed and refused to look away. Charlotte was smiling again now. Really smiling. And that smile would carry her forward. Past the trauma. Past the fear. Into whatever future she chose for herself. Sarah looked back at the palace. One last time. Massive. Ancient. Full of history and secrets. For centuries, it had stood as a symbol of power that couldn't be challenged. But she'd challenged it. And won. Not completely. Not permanently. But enough to matter. Enough to change things. Enough to prove that dangerous questions, asked by ordinary people with extraordinary courage, could shake even the strongest institutions. She walked away feeling something she hadn't felt in months. Hope, because Charlotte was smiling again. And that smile represented something more than one girl's healing. It represented the possibility that things could change. That power could be held accountable. That children could be protected instead of sacrificed. It represented the future, a better one than the past. And it had all started with one question. One dangerous, beautiful, necessary question. Why? That question had saved Charlotte, had exposed corruption, had changed a system. And Sarah Chen, the guard who dared to ask it, walked into her own future knowing she'd done something that mattered. She'd protected a child when no one else would. She'd asked dangerous questions when everyone else stayed silent. She'd fought an institution that seemed unbeatable and proved it could be challenged. Most importantly, she'd helped a little girl smile again. And sometimes, that's what changing the world looks like. Not grand speeches or dramatic battles. Just one person caring enough to notice when a child stops smiling and refusing to accept it. The end of this story is really just a beginning. Charlotte's healing journey. The continued reforms. The ongoing fight for accountability. But for Sarah, walking away from the palace into a London afternoon, the lesson was clear. One person can make a difference. One question can change everything. One act of courage can ripple outward in ways you never imagine. She'd asked why. She'd demanded answers. She'd protected a child. And Princess Charlotte was smiling again. That was enough.